This will be for the con assignment, divide complex numbers. So for these types of problems, what you want to do is change the plus minus sign on the denominator that is in between the real and imaginary portion. All right. So you're going to multiply by a fraction that equals 1. So you take the denominator, instead of 2 plus 3i, we're just going to write 2 minus 3i. Okay, and in the numerator, it's going to be the same thing, 2 minus 3i. So as you can see, we're multiplying by the same number over itself. So it's the same as multiplying by 1. All right, that's why I'm allowed to do that. And then, of course, when you multiply fractions, you treat the numerators and denominators separately. Okay, and we're going to use FOIL. So the first is going to be 7 times 2, that's 14. The inner is going to be 17i times 2, that's going to be 34i. The outer is going to be 7 times negative 3i, that's negative 21i. And the last, just erase some of this here, the last term is going to be 17i times negative 3i. Okay, 17 times negative 3 is, let me see, negative 51. And of course, I times I is I squared. Now for the denominator, you'll see that the inner outer term drops out. All right, and that was the idea. So when we do the first, it's going to be 2 times 2, that's 4. The inner term is 3i times 2, which is 6i. But the outer term is 2 times negative 3i, so that's negative 6i. So you see, these will always cancel if you do this properly. And then finally, for the last term, 3i times negative 3i. Well, 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. And I times I is I squared. All right. So 6i minus 6i, that cancels. And that should happen every time when you do this properly. 34i minus 21i. Well, 34 minus 21 is positive 13. And we still have the I. All right. And of course, I squared is just negative 1. And right here as well, I squared is just negative 1. So in the denominator, we have 14, and negative 51 times negative 1 is positive 51. 14 plus 51 is 65. And we still have positive 13i. In the denominator, negative 9 times negative 1 is positive 9. And 4 plus 9 is just 13. Okay, 65 is not divisible by 13, so this is the final answer right here. So click inside the box, and let's see if I can make this a fraction. Okay. So let's click the X over Y button to make it a fraction. All right, and in the denominator, 65 plus 13i, you just type that in. and then click the down arrow key to get to the denominator and type 13. All right, so this will basically be the same thing each time. All right, just take the denominator here, change the plus minus sign of the sign that's in between the imaginary and real numbers. All right, so for the denominator, instead of -2 plus 3i, I'm going to make it -2 minus 3i. Okay, and since that's in the denominator, you want it in the numerator as well. Okay, this way we're multiplying by the same thing over itself. You're multiplying by 1. All right, and just use FOIL. First, you can use FOIL or distribute. -3 times -2 is +6. The inner term, -15i times -2 is +30i. And the outer is -3 times -3i, that's +9i. And the last is -15i times -3i. -15 times -3 is +45. And then I times I is just I squared. And remember, of course, I squared is -1. So if you want to make the I squared -1 right away, you can do that. And now in the denominator, the inner outer term should drop out. Okay, -2 times -2 is +4. The inner is 3i times -2, that's -6i. The outer is -2 times -3i, that's +6i. And the last is 3i times -3i. 3 times -3 is -9. And then I times I is I squared. Okay, so combining 30i plus 9i, that's going to be 39i. And we said I squared is -1, so 45 times -1 is going to be -45. Now on the bottom, -6i plus 6i drops out. We said I squared is -1, so -9 times -1 is +9. All right. So in the numerator, 6 minus 45 is -39. And we still have +39i. Okay. And in the denominator, it's just 4 plus 9. That's 13. Okay. Remember, when you're adding or subtracting over a common denominator, each of those terms are over the denominator. So -39 divided by 13 is -3. And 39 divided by 13 is +3. And we still have the I. So that's it. Okay, in the first problem, the numerator was not divisible by the denominator. But here you can see you can divide 39 by 13. So it's just negative. So you just type -3 plus 3i in the box. All right, last one. So just change the sign in between the real and imaginary numbers. Instead of -1 minus 3i, we're going to make it negative 1 plus 3i. Okay, so you keep the denominator and put the same thing in the numerator, negative 1 plus 3i. So we're basically multiplying by 1. Using FOIL, first is negative 2 times negative 1, that's positive 2. Inner is negative 6i times negative 1, that's positive 6i. Outer is negative 2 times positive 3i, that's negative 6i. And last is negative 6i times positive 3i. Negative 6 times positive 3 is negative 18. And I times I is I squared. In the denominator, first, negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Inner is negative 3i times negative 1, that's positive 3i. Outer is negative 1 times positive 3i, that's negative 3i. And last is negative 3i times positive 3i. Negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. And I times I is I squared. Okay? So 6i minus 6i, that's gone. 3i minus 3i, that's gone. And we said I squared is negative 1. So negative 18 times negative 1 is positive 18. Negative 9 times negative 1 is positive 9. And we have 2 plus 18 in the numerator. That's 20. We have 1 plus 9 in the denominator. That's 10. And 20 divided by 10 is just 2. Let's put that in the box.